Actually, as a clinical psychologist, you could go back to teaching.
I could, yes.
Well, they're in the classroom.
I'll just be the font. Just
Yeah, we still have plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
you know, Mike gets all the advice.
I think they should teach psychology classes, especially in secondary
100%,
school.
yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. And even like emotion regulation.
They're finally teaching more.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it's elective, yeah.
What about my?
Yeah, when, they started last year when the schools
All
merged,
right.
but it's not enough they're doing it in London, but they're doing it in yeah, you know.
Such a good idea.
Okay, we're ready to
I'm
go.
looking for musical video.
Okay. So, welcome everybody online. All you nice souls, we're in Australia and it's flooding out, so we can't go to the temple. Hare Krishna, everybody. All right. Thank you for coming to class. So, unfortunately, we couldn't go to the temple. Sad.
That'll change them.
What's that?
Najita's, I think, got a new bit of land where there's access, so
Right.
it'll change. At some point.
Good.
It'll be hectic, but
Okay.
There's another one there if you prefer a different one.
No, this is nice, my style. I prefer this. It's funny. Jayo Radha Madhuva Kunjabi Hare Jaya Radhu Madhava Kunjabi Janabalabat Hiri Badadauti Gopi Janabalabat Hiri Badadauti Gopi Sudanandana Brajajanaran Jana Sudanandana Brajajanaran Jana Jamuna Tira Manachaldev Tira Manachari Jairanu Madhava Kunjabihaluti Kunjabihaluti Gopi Janabalabat Kirivadadavuti Gopi Gopi Jana Malabha Kirivadadauti Gopi Jana Malabha Yasunanandana Brajajanaran Jana Yasunanandana Brajajanaran Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravedikacharya also Teda Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Sabaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Marashila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shadharidas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kahu Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuranam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All gloriously assembled devotees, all gloriously assembled devotees, all gloriously assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pachari Nivishesha Sindhuvadi Paschatya Satarni. So today we are reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita because it is Saturday. And I guess you read on Saturday and Sunday from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we're on Madhya Lila, first chapter, text 82. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. You all do that responsibly?
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta.
Okay, so do you do the verse responsively like the Bhagavatam? How do you usually do it here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Tomara Charanamora Braja Pura Gare
Tumara Charana Mora Braja Pura Gare
Udaya Kare Yare Tabi Vanchapure
Jaya Karaye Jari Tabi Vanchapure
Tomara Charanamora Braja Pura Gare
Tumara Charana Mora Braja Pura Gare
Udaya Kare Yare Tabe Vanchapure
Jaya Karaye Jari Tabi Vanchapure
Tomara Charanamora Brajapura Gare
Tumara Charana Mora Braja Pura Gare
Udaya Kare Yare Tabe Vanchapure.
Jaya Karaye Jari Tabi Vanchapure
Okay, anyone want to try?
Tumara Charana Mora Braja Pura Gare
Tomara Charanamora Brajapura Gare
Jaya Karaye Jari Tabi Vanchapure
Udaya Kare Yare Tabe Vanchapure. Anyone else?
Tamara Charana Mora Braja Puragare.
Tomara Charanamora Brajapura Gare.
Jaya Kare Yadi Tabi Vanchapure.
Daya Kare Yare Tabivancha Pure. Amaya Namora Brajapura Gare. Daya Kare Yare Tabivancha Pure. Anyone else? Okay. So word by word. Tomara. Your.
Your.
Charana. Lotus feet.
Lotus feet.
Mora.
Mora.
My.
My.
Brajapura Gare.
Brajapura Gare.
At the home in Vrindavana.
At the home in Vrindavan.
Udaya.
Udaya.
Awaken.
Awaken.
Karehe.
Kare.
I do.
I do.
Yati.
Yadi.
If.
If.
Tabe.
Tabe.
Then.
Then.
Vancha.
Vancha.
Desires.
Desires.
Pure.
Pure.
Are fulfilled.
Are fulfilled.
So, translation, the gopis thought, Dear Lord, if your lotus feet again come to our home in Vrindavana, our desires will be fulfilled. So you can repeat, the gopis thought, Dear Lord,
Dear Lord,
if your lotus feet
if your lotus feet
again come to our home in Vrindavana,
again come to our home in Vrindavan,
our desires will be fulfilled.
our desires will be fulfilled.
So, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In his Anu Bhashya, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments, the gopis are purely engaged in the service of the Lord without motive. They are not captivated by the opulence of Krishna, nor by the understanding that He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Naturally, the gopis were inclined to love Krishna, for he was an attractive young boy of Vrindavan village. Being village girls, they were not very much attracted to the field of Kurukshetra, where Krishna was present with elephants, horses, and royal dress. Indeed, they did not very much appreciate Krishna in that atmosphere. Krishna was not attracted by the opulence or personal beauty of the gopis, but by their pure devotional service. Similarly, the gopis were attracted to Krishna as a coward boy, not in sophisticated guise. Lord Krishna is inconceivably powerful. To understand Him, great yogis and saintly persons give up all material engagements and meditate upon Him. Similarly, those who are overly attracted to material enjoyment, to enhancement of material opulence, to family maintenance, or to liberation from the entanglements of this material world, take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, in other words, akama sarvakama mokshakama dharati tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. I'm just summarizing that with the Bhagavatam verse. Whether one is full of material desires, free of material desires, or desirous of liberation, one takes shelter of Krishna, if one has intelligence. But such activities and motivations are unknown to the gopis. In other words, they are nishkam devotees. They are not at all expert in executing such auspicious activities. Already transcendently enlightened, they simply engage their purified senses in the service of the Lord in the remote village of Vrindavana. The gopis are not interested in dry speculation in the arts, in music, or other conditions of material life. They are bereft of all understanding of material enjoyment and renunciation. Their only desire is to see Krishna return and enjoy spiritual transcendental pastimes with him, with them. The gopis want him simply to stay in Vrindavan so that they can render service unto him for his pleasure. There is not even a tinge of personal sense gratification. So, again, this Bengali. Tumara Chalana Mora Brajapura Gare Udaya Kariye Yade tabivancha re somagana timidandasha gananjana shlakaya chakshur unmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, very interesting in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the particular incident of the gopis with Krishna in Kurukshetra. Of course, this is during the solar eclipse. During the solar eclipse, all the residents of Vrindavan, except for the cowherd boys, went to Kurukshetra. Why did the cowherd boys go to Kurukshetra? Does anyone know?
Well, they didn't go.
No, they didn't go, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because they had to take care of the cows and calves. So you couldn't just leave the calves and cows there, and they couldn't take the cows and calves to Kurukshetra. That would have been impractical. So anyway, so in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 82nd chapter of the 10th canto, there's a very interesting commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Previously in the Bhagavatam, Krishna has actually explained things philosophically to the gopis, who he is and all the, the ontology and everything like that. So there's a quote from them which I'm going to read, which I noted down. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the gopis, his interpretations of what the gopis said in this particular verse is as follows. O sun who directly destroys the darkness of ignorance, we are scorched by the sun rays of this philosophical knowledge. So Krishna is giving them philosophical knowledge. Actually, it's described, he even gave them knowledge of Achincha Beta Beta Tattva in the Bhagavatam. And the gopis say, we're scorched by the rays, sun rays of philosophical knowledge. In other words, we're not interested in it. He's trying to avoid us by speaking philosophy. We are Chakora birds who can subsist, is directly the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, only on the moonlight radiating from your beautiful face. Please come back to Vrindavan with us, and in this way bring us back to life. And then he says, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is very expert in presenting these dialogues that occur between the gopis and Krishna. And remember, he did this in his description of the Radhakund appearance in the Bhagavatam, if you read his commentary. So he says, then come to Dwarka, then we will enjoy together. So in other words, Krishna's giving them the option. Okay, you want to enjoy with me? Come to Dwarka. And they reply, Sri Vrindavan is our home, and we're too attached to it for us to take up residence anywhere else. So, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti, only there the gopis imply can Krishna attract them by wearing peacock feathers in his turban and playing enchanting music with his flute. Only by his appearance again in Vrindavan can the gopis be saved, not by any other kind of meditation on him or theoretical knowledge of the self. In other words, the gopis are only interested in pleasing the senses of Krishna in an intimate way. And when they're presented with other alternatives, they're not at all interested. Not at all. They're scorched by it. So, on the other hand, when the residents of Dwarka, or even Vaikuntha, let's say, are presented with the alternative of becoming like the gopis, they just can't do it. There's this story in the, actually Chaitanya Charitamrita, about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meeting with Venkata, who happens to be the father of Gopal Bhatta, who became Gopal Bhatta Goswami later on. So, in this discussion, they're talking about the position of Lakshmi, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to convert Venkata to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and Venkata is very much attached, being a member of the Ramanuja Sampradaya to worshiping in the mood of awe and reverence. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sarcastically says, I thought your Lakshmi, I'm just paraphrasing this, I thought your Lakshmi is the most chaste lady. So if she's the most chaste lady, what is she doing worshiping Krishna, coward boy? She's supposed to be chaste to Narayan, Lakshmi Narayan. And so what are you doing worship? What is she doing? Is she violating her chastity? And Venkatapata, understanding philosophically that Krishna and Narayan are, in one sense, Advaita Chuta Nadi Rananta Rupa Majam Purana Purusham Naviyogam. They're the same person, but he thinks that Krishna is an expansion from Narayan. And you'll find oftentimes people in India will think like that, especially in South India. And that, the real important pastimes of God are the pastimes of Vaikuntha, Narayan, Lakshmi, Narayan. And Krishna's just like something that's not as significant. I mean, it's like we talk about Ete Chang Sakalat Pumsa Krishna's Tu Bhagavan Swayam. That Krishna expands himself, he's Bhagavan Swayam, he's the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the other pastimes of the Lord are not as important to us. I mean, they're important. I mean, obviously we dwell on Prahlad Maharaj's pastimes with Lord Nrsingadev and Kurma and Matsya, but they're not as significant to us because our whole desire is to go back to Godhead, back to Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual world. We want to relate to Krishna in one of the intimate loving exchanges, whether it's Sakya Ras or Madhurya Ras or Vatsalya Ras, or of course even Dasha Ras. But previously, when Krishna presents philosophy in this particular section of the Bhagavatam, it's all like Shanta Ras philosophy. So Venkatapata understands that Lakshmi is not violating her chastity by wanting to associate with Krishna. He said, I understand that. But then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, however, she was not able to enter into the rasa dance. Now, why was she not able to enter into the rasa dance? And Venkatapata says, this is actually, as we say in America, this is above my pay grade. He doesn't use that expression. He says, this is beyond my ability to understand. And in spite of executing austerity for 1,000 celestial years, Lakshmi can't enter it. Why is that? And finally, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that the reason is that she's attached to this opulence. That doesn't mean she's attached to what? Jewelry. Sometimes people take that out of context and they think, oh, she's attached to all of her earrings and jewelry and everything like that. No. She's attached to a particular mood of worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that mood is, as she's fearful. Mood of, not fearful in the sense we're shaking, afraid of death, but she's fearful of displeasing him. She's definitely very, very submissive. And there's that story, let's see, that's in the Chaitanya Mangal. Remember that story? Some of you may know that story, that where Narada Muni wants to get some Mahaprasadam, so he serves Lakshmi. Anyone familiar with that story? He serves Lakshmi for many, many years. Lakshmi says, whatever you want. He says, I want Mahaprasadam. And she says, oh my God. Yes, oh my God, Vishnu. I don't want to displease. She's scared. And finally she approaches, very timidly Lord Vishnu, Narayan. And she says, oh, I made this promise. I got a problem. And he says, okay, give it to Narada Muni when I'm not looking. So she doesn't feel guilty about the whole thing. So, anyway, it's actually quite interesting. So, So anyway, so Lakshmi is attached to this mood. She has this awe and reverent mood in relationship to the Lord, opulent mood in relationship to the Lord, and because of that, she's not allowed to enter into the rasa dance. So what does that mean? I mean, let's apply this to us, because we are advised by our acharyas to worship the deities in the mood of what? Awe and reverence is Lakshmi. But Prabhupada actually states like that. Awe and reverence in Lakshmi Narayan. So one may be thinking, how am I going to go to Goloka Vrindavan now? I'm just going to be stuck in Vaikuntha. And actually, sometimes you hear propaganda by people who are not in ISKCON, that you ISKCON devotees, or those of you who are, let's say, worshiping in the mood of awe and reverence, the rules and regulations, you're simply going to go to Vaikuntha. And this propaganda is made to try to get devotees to what? Leave ISKCON and join them. Isn't it? It's actually, the motivation is political rather than philosophical. Anyway, people use politics, use philosophy sometimes for political ends, which is quite interesting. So that's why it's good to analyze why people do something. And behind every philosophical statement, there's always a psychological or emotional reason, which is actually interesting. There's always some emotion or motivation behind it. So anyway, so our answer to their particular statement is that by serving His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada and his mission of Srila Prabhupada, we talked about this, by serving Srila Prabhupada's mission, then everything will be accomplished. And that statement is there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shraddha Sabde Vishasakahe Sudrita Nishya. That if one has this faith in following the order of the Guru and of Krishna, of course, then everything will be accomplished. And so Krishna will reveal. And now at the same time, we do not suppress any feelings that may occur intimately in relationship to the Supreme Personality of God, but we don't broadcast these things, because that runs counter to Srila Prabhupada's mood. And Srila Prabhupada very much cautioned us about openly talking about the intimate loving exchanges of Radha and Krishna, apart from what the acharyas have taught us about. And there's some interesting quotes which I noted down here, because I've been actually dealing with this particular subject matter of devotees trying to jump up to a higher level, either by leaving ISKCON and joining another organization, or by thinking that they're on a higher level and entering into some literatures which Srila Prabhupada didn't advocate for us to read at this particular juncture until we're more advanced in devotional service. So Prabhupada himself cautioned us in many ways, and I'm going to read some of his cautionary statements, as well as cautionary statements by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in this regard. So first, there's a conversation that Prabhupada had in 1976, where Prabhupada says, first of all, anartha nivritti. Anartha nivritti means getting rid of the unwanted bad habits, which actually Prabhupada says here. You're accustomed to so many bad habits. First of all, try to rectify it, then talk of Swarupa. Now, Swarupa means who you are in the spiritual world. Due to our immaturity, we oftentimes project our material understandings onto what we think is a conception of the Swarupa. I'll give you an example that I often give in this regard. Is when I was a new devotee, and I was a brahmachari, and I was living, of course, with the other brahmacharis, and we had like a real camaraderie. Means friendship. And we basically felt, we're like one of the members of a gang, and we were like coward boys. So we would read about the coward boys, and we all looked at each other, or most of us looked at each other and said, we must be coward boys in the spiritual world, because our material conception was projected onto the realm of the absolute. So we have that tendency. So Prabhupada here says, first of all, try to rectify it, then talk of Swarup, rectify your bad habits. Where's your Swarup? Simply wasting time. A man is diseased. He's thinking, when shall I be cured? I shall eat when I shall be cured. I shall eat, go to this hotel, and I shall eat like this. First of all, he said, cure. Then talk of eating this and that, Swarupa. When you are cured, that is Swarupa. So long you are not cured, what is the use of talking Swarupa? First business to cure yourself in Arta Nivritti. That is an Arta Nivritti. And here, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur states, no one can, this is his famous literature about Prakrita Sahaj. He says, no one can ever experience the sprouting of pure ecstatic emotions without first following the regulated injunctions of the scriptures. One who does not give up materialistic faith can never attain the stage of spiritual attachment and devotional service. Another quote is, if divine ecstatic emotions have not yet awakened, there's no possibility of one becoming a rasika, a true relisher of devotional mellows. If materialistic emotions are not entirely rejected, one can never become a true rasika. In other words, as long as you're experiencing material emotions, you're not going to be a true rasika, able to understand your swarup. And then that means we should really be a little introspective and understand how many material emotions we're experiencing at present. That requires some humility. Anyway, one more quote I'll read from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then another quote from Prabhupada that indicates the mood that we should have. If one still has unwanted material impediments and arthas present in their performance of devotional service, their sadhana, then ras can never truly awaken. When the holy name of the Lord is chanted from the platform of pure ecstatic emotions bhava, then the cheating mood born of pretentious devotional mellows can never be present. Heavy statement by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Now, here's the mood that we need to inculcate if we want to make spiritual advancement. And actually, this is the mood I've been trying to inculcate. I'm not saying I'm always successful. And this is from Srila Prabhupada's offering to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I don't remember what year was made. Personally, this is one of my favorite quotes. Personally, I have no hope of any direct service for the coming crores of births of the sojourn of my life. But I am confident, this is called Ashabandha, of course. Hope against hope, Rupa Goswami terms this to be. But I am confident that someday or other I shall be delivered from this mire of delusion in which I am presently so deeply sunk. So what does that show us? It shows us Prabhupada's mood of what? Dainya. What is dainya? Anyone know?
Humility.
Humility. According to Sanatana Goswami in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, this dainya and prema go together. One is the cause of the other. In other words, each one is the cause of the other. Prema is the cause of dainya, dainya is the cause of prema. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So our problem is lack of humility, lack of introspection. lack of understanding our position, our spiritual position. And we think, this is an anartha, we think we're actually better. And especially, that's, of course, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that's an occurrence that happened, or occurs. But anyway, something that occurs due to the performance of devotional services. One gets more advanced, one gets proud of one's advancement, or the profit, adoration, distinction one gets from one's advancement. So we have to cultivate that humility. Of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshashika speaks about this. Chanadabi Sunichena Tharodapi Sishna Amanina Manadena. And he gives us the methodology for cultivating that humility. What is that? Amanina Manadena. First he says one has to be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respects to it. But offer respects to others. Like even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was offered obeisances, he would reply, does anyone know how he would reply? Dasosmi. Dasosmi. I'm your servant. That was his reply, rather than some of us like me, Ashivad, blessings. Some says, all right, blessings. You got to keep your hand out all the time, sometimes with the communities that I preach, blessing. So, but he, that's Lord Chaitanya's teaching. Humbler than a blade of grass. So here's Prabhupada's statement. Mire of delusion, I'm repeating, of course, in which I'm present so deeply sunk. Prabhupada's thinking like it. He's not just like making a show. We make a show, like we say, please accept my humble obeisances. But we mean, I'm better than you. But, I have to follow some etiquette just to be a Hare Krishna devotee. Oftentimes, I wonder, humble obeisances, am I humble? I know what it means. It means, but even worthless, anyway. Prabhupada actually used that term, too. Therefore, let me, with all my earnestness, pray at the lotus feet of my divine master to allow me to suffer the lot for which I am destined due to my past misdoings. Powerful, isn't it? Prabhupada's statements. But to let me have the power of recollections that I'm nothing but a tiny servant of the Almighty Absolute Godhead, realized through the unflinching mercy of my divine master. Let me therefore bow down at his lotus feet with all humility at my command. So this is the mood we have to have if we actually want to come to the platform, the higher platform. And that's the mood of the gopis, pointed out by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. They're thinking, we want to go back to Vrindavan, not want to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan. We can't really appreciate him in any other of his manifestations. Because even when Krishna appeared in the Chaturbhuja form in Vrindavan, they did not appreciate that. They just offered their obeisances and asked Chaturbhuj, four-arm form, where's Krishna? It's not that they said, oh, my Lord. They just said, please give us directions. It's like if the police appear before you and you lost your directions, say, my dear policeman, can you tell me the way to so-and-so? Or let's say even if the Prime Minister came, and he came here and you said, tell me the way to New Govardhan. Something like that. So they were simply thinking of serving Krishna in Vrindavan, not enjoying with him. They were not thinking of their own enjoyment as they would have in Vrindavan. They just wanted to serve him in a particular mood. And that mood can be attained if we take this mood that Srila Prabhupada has talked about here in his offering. That mood of considering oneself a servant and hope against hope that somehow or other we will have direct service in the coming crores of births. Can you imagine that? You know, devotees thinking, I'm going back to Godhead after this lifetime. But Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Janmani 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 Swarai. You know, Mama Janmani Janmani Swarai. Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoituki Twaye. And also stated, what's that? Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Kita Janma Hoya Tatuya Das. Right? Brahma Janme, Bahir Mukha Brahma Janme Nahiyas. I don't even want to take birth as Brahma if he's not your devotee. And I'll take birth as an insect as your devotee. So this is the mood that Prabhupada is actually, and our acharyas are teaching us. So the point is not to get bewildered by others who may be speaking about a different mood. And then Ras will manifest in our hearts at that particular juncture. So anyway, that's what I had to say about this particular verse. I mean, I could get into more descriptions about Kurukshetra and the Rath Yatra ceremony, which is what is being mentioned here. Because this is this verse that we read today is Lord Chaitanya's mood, because he's in the mood of Srimati Radharani, during the Rath Yatra ceremony. And Srila Rupa Goswami has a beautiful verse about this. Lord Chaitanya spoke a beautiful verse. You know, you're the same Krishna, I'm the same Radharani, and I long to be with you beneath the Reva tree at the the banks of the Jamuna, like that. And Rupa Goswami wrote so many verses about this particular point. So any questions? Yes?
Regarding us, like people saying, because we worship in the mood of Lakshmana Srimile,
Yeah.
Narayan, then we're going to go into Vaikuntha.
Yeah.
Just not long ago, maybe last year, Swami gave a nectar instruction class.
Right.
And he was saying that actually, and he's got Shastra to back it up.
Yeah.
That the devotees, that come to ISKCON, they worship Krishna, and they do have that mood that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of
Right.
Godhead, which the residents of Vrindavan do not have. So he was explaining that there's another place that the devotees are going to go. We're not going to go to that eternal Krishna Loka. He was explaining there's another place that devotees go who, love Krishna, and they might have that mood.
Right.
But they have a sense that he is the Supreme
Right,
Personality of
right.
Godhead. So it was kind of like a bit of a shock and a bit discouraging, because we all think, oh yeah, we're going to go
Right,
to Krishna
right,
Loka
right.
and join in with the gopis. And, they're all there, but it's a different mood.
Yeah,
So-
there's a different mood. In that particular location he described, Radha and Krishna are married. Yeah. I mean, there's different neighborhoods. Yeah, so everything is just like much more awe and reverent in that place. But it's not necessarily true that we will not enter into the intimate exchanges of Radha and Krishna. Why? Because we are serving His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, who is on the highest level. So there's like a shortcut for us. I would say there's a shortcut, pleasing Prabhupada. Yasha prasada bhagavat prasada yasha prasada nagati gatopi. And Prabhupada actually said the gopis are not banned. But of course there are other statements of Rupa Goswami that if one simply stays on the platform of Vaidhi, then one will not go to, the intimate location in Goloka Vrindavan. So I'm not advocating that one doesn't progress in devotional service and come to a more intimate stage, but I'm saying that by serving Prabhupada, that will happen. Prabhupada said, what deserve, then desire. So I have that faith in Srila Prabhupada, in faith that by serving Prabhupada, which I quoted that first from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shraddha Shabde Vishasakahe Sutrada Nisya. That faith is described as simply doing what Krishna wants. Everything is accomplished. That's a verse given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. I have that faith by doing what, because I know what Krishna wants through Prabhupada. And serving his mission, then these things will manifest. And even if they, let's say, theoretically, I'm not saying they are manifest, but even if they were manifest in my heart, that intimate mood, I wouldn't tell anybody about it. I wouldn't talk with everybody about it. I wouldn't go on the internet and have groups like that group. It was in Los Angeles, the Gopi Baba group. You probably remember that. It was headed up by someone named Paranjana. You probably know. Yeah. No. But anyway, so they were regularly talking about, these intimate dealings. And devotees, an actual advanced devotee won't do that. Like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who admittedly was a Banjari Gopi, and he actually wrote that at a particular juncture. When he went to Radha Kund and he gave classes, I forget what he was preaching about, but it was like basic ABC Krishna conscious philosophy. So a devotee, just like we talk about a devotee keeps his beads hidden, is this the Deva hidden? So a devotee doesn't reveal publicly these things, because that's a disservice to the majority of devotees. But it will occur. At the same time, Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mention that one will act as if more strictly on the Vaidhi platform, from the external Vaidhi platform. Why? To set an example for others. Like what 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, it's described that their performance of external sadhana was like lines on a stone. So my realization is, yes, the mood of intimacy will manifest. It will manifest. But that's, obviously if you have some Siksha gurus on that level, or some very high person, you can talk to them privately about it. But as far as on the internet, open classes, who's on that level? Where's the humility? No hope for direct service for the coming crores of birth in the sojourn. That's not the exact quote, but that's similar to what I just read. That humility. Yeah.
In the purport today, Father says that you're already transcendently enlightened.
Yeah.
Can you just unpack that a little bit? Is that because we understand that simple village girls,
Yeah.
they're transcendently enlightened because all they want is Krishna?
Yeah. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamobhyanti te. What does that mean? Tesham sati yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvikam dadami buddhi yogam. Krishna reveals everything to them, but they're not interested in it. Yeah, they weren't aware. They heard the philosophy. They're already aware that Krishna is. They forget it. Obviously, they're enlightened. As we were talking about last night, when one experiences like some extreme, like rasa or taste, you actually forget past, present, future. Past and future. Sorry, not present. That would be dangerous psychologically. But you just become immersed in the moment. So yes, they had that knowledge because Krishna reveals within the heart, but they're not interested in it. For them, it's superfluous, and when Krishna talks about it, it's just, they get upset. Actually, when Krishna preached to them even mundane morality, when they went to join Krishna, when Krishna was in Vrindavan and Krishna played his flute and they went to join Krishna, Krishna said to them, you chaste girls, you better go home tonight. And they got really upset with Krishna at that particular juncture. So, yeah, they understood mundane morality. They understood the philosophy, but it wasn't at the forefront of their consciousness. And it interfered with their intimacy with Krishna. Just like Krishna dressing as a king, in the mood that he had at Kurukshetra, interfered with their approaching him. They weren't interested in dealing with Krishna like that. I mean, it's just like if you have, you're an intimate friend of someone and then they have some big position and they're sitting in their office, you're not going to be that much interested in like interacting with them. They're your buddy, or someone's their wife. It's not so interesting. I mean, how many times does someone's wife show up at the office? Isn't it? It's just like, I'm at work right now, dear. So wait till I get home. So it's time to go home now. And that's what the gopis are saying to Krishna, it's time to come home. We don't want to relate with you like this in this awe and reverent mood. And the same way, Lakshmi doesn't want to relate to Krishna in this intimate mood. She can't give up her mood of awe and reverence. So you find contrasting moods in that particular regard. Anyways, it's a lot of stuff here. Yeah.
Maharaj, two questions. Just in relationship to Bhikamaji said, quoting Bhanuswami, like the devotees may go to a certain place where Radha and Krishna
Yes.
are married. So the question is, what is that place? And the second question is that in Vaikuntha, it's all mood of awe and reverence, but isn't in the Dwarka section in Goloka Vrindavan, isn't there some tinge of
Yeah,
reverence
there's
as
awe and
well?
reverence there too.
So, devotees are, as Prabhupada instructed, worshipping the deities in the mood of
Awe and
Lakshmi
reverence.
and Orion. Couldn't they still go to Dwarka and Goloka Vrindavan?
Yeah, they go to Dwarka too. They could go to Dwarka too. However, there is a possibility of like going from there to the intimate exchanges of Krishna and Goloka Vrindavan. So it's not that you're stuck in a particular location. You can actually, as you develop, or your mood develops, just like Gopakumar. If you read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he was going through different locations where the Lord was worshipped in a mood of awe and reverence. He became a king in Jagannath Puri. At one point he became Lord Brahma. And then he went to Vaikuntha. Well, actually a lot of things happened in between. But anyway, he went to Vaikuntha, but he progressed gradually. And he understood his true identity, eternal identity, was as a coward boy in Vrindavan, worshipping and serving Krishna as his friend. So, there's progression even. But I wouldn't get discouraged thinking, oh my God, I'm only going to be there in the part of Goloka Vrindavan where everything is on reverence, and I don't get to kiss Krishna, I don't get to pat him on the back, I don't get to hold him in my arms, You have an eternal identity. Actually, there's an interesting verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of my favorites. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Sajakora Noi, Shavanada Shuddhachite Kore Doi, which means that our level of Krishna Prem is already there, just has to be awakened. So there is a natural, of course this goes against some people who preach against what Prabhupada said. There's this whole controversy. Is Krishna Prema inherited or inherent? The whole controversy that's going on. Whether it's part of our nature or we have to get it from somebody. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu states, the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, that it's eternally part of us, Krishna Prem, our identity, Sajikota noi. It is not attained. It's not something external that you attain. Sajikota noi. And you realize it by what? Serving. Shravanadi, hearing specifically. Shravanadi Shuddhachitte. The pure consciousness of the mind becomes awakened. Kota udoi. And so we do have that eternal relationship, and whether that relationship is with Lord Ramchandra, or whether that relationship is with Krishna as a gopi, or Krishna as a coward boy, whatever, that's there. It simply has to be awakened. And that awakening process may be, yes, gradual step, as Bhanu Maharaj points out. Yeah.
I was going to, thanks for touching that, because that was going to be my question in
Yeah.
the conversation around, the rasas and the mood and, aspiring for something more intimate versus,
Yeah.
awe and reverence, all the conversation. But at the same time, my understanding of that was that if we do already have our eternal position,
Yeah.
then ultimately the path, in a way, is almost like what you've described. You serve in the mood of dasya,
Right.
and that will get revealed from within.
Exactly.
And it's not that it's almost like, I guess that's my question, do we pick and choose at one point? Does our eternal mood
We've
or
already
position
picked and
changes?
chosen.
Sorry? Yes.
We already, that's our eternal relationship. Now, and of course another controversy is, how did we come down to the
Yeah.
mature? But I'm not going to deal with that one.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's really hard. My children, I can't answer it.
Well, the acharyas aren't specific about that, but somehow or other we had some consciousness of Krishna before. Exactly what that meant, whether we were with Krishna or we just like watching television and Krishna was on the television. I'm just being sarcastic here. But somehow or other, we fell down. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is very specific about this. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I have like oceans of quotes about these things. And of course Prabhupada is very specific about it. And of course the people who oppose that conception, they say that Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Prabhupada were preaching like that as a preaching strategy. Maybe you've heard that statement before. But to me, that is actually offensive to Prabhupada, because Prabhupada never changed the philosophy for strategic reasons. He never changed the Siddhanta for strategy. Neither did Bhaktivinoda Thakur, neither did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. To say that my spiritual master changed the philosophy just to trick me into becoming a devotee, because I wouldn't have accepted the real philosophy, is a great offense against Prabhupada. Isn't it? I mean, that's really the problem with other philosophy. So, yeah, you had a question.
Well, I guess that's where I was sort of trying to, maybe check whether my understanding is correct. If we do have an eternal
Relationship, yeah.
then in a way there is a level of peace we can be at. That it's, maybe we will be at a place that Ramaswamy described. Maybe we will be somewhere else. And it's okay, because our soul will believe that that is the utmost, highest, most beautiful, perfect place for in our...
We'll be happy. I mean, I'm happy now serving Prabhupada. One has to be grateful for what one has. Attitude of gratitude. So, you cultivate an attitude of gratitude, gratefulness. Wow, I mean, I'm able to serve Krishna. I'm able, somehow or other, I'm able to be here reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Wow. To me, that's perfection. I've achieved perfection because I'm reading the words of a great pure devotee, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada. And am I a gopi or not? I mean, to me, whatever, when it's time, I'll understand these things. Because that means if one is dissatisfied by what one is doing at present, there's a problem. There's a problem. Because if you're absorbed in your particular service, right now you're on the spiritual platform. That famous verse, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, Brahmatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhinam. So what's the problem?
And even from day one, Prabhupada to chant and be happy.
Yeah. I mean, I get enough prasadam. I, have nice devotees to associate with. I have Prabhupada's books to read. I mean, what? Yeah, I mean, one day I will realize who I am. Fine. When it's time, Krishna will reveal. The Dami Buddhi Yogam Tan Yenamam Upiyantite. But first I have to be Tesham Sata Yuktanam. Are you Tesham Sata Yuktanam? Are you always connected? Yuktanam, like yoga, Yuktanam. Satata, always. Are you always connected? Then the Dami Buddhi Yogam Tan. Krishna will tell me what I need to know. I don't need to have it imposed, Siddha Pranali, for example, imposed upon me. And it's there. If I'm meant to be, if not meant to be, if I am already a gopi, a manjari gopi, it'll come.
It's unavoidable.
Yeah, it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be happy being in Vaikuntha.
Yes, exactly.
Like the gopis, they're not going to be happy being in Dwarka. They say to Krishna, we're not going there. You come here. So if that's my eternal nature, then how am I going to be happy doing anything else? And I will grab it. Like Gopal Kumar, that's the whole point of the Gopal Kumar story. He's not really satisfied everywhere he goes. He's happy, but he's not satisfied. He's always thinking of Vrindavan. When am I going to go to my Vrindavan? So that's why, and everyone's surprised, he goes to Janaloka, Maharloka. Why aren't you happy here just meditating? He sees the four Kumaras, and they tell him how to meditate, and he sees Krishna, anyway, through meditation. And even Narada Muni is shocked. You're here in Dwarka, you're here or there, and you're not happy. Or you're not satisfied. You're happy but not satisfied. There's a difference between the two. So it'll be like that with us. If we're meant to be, we'll be. What do they say? What is that? I think it's French. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be.
Future is not ours.
Yeah, you know that song. The future is not. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future is not ours to see. Que sera, sera. I just have so much happiness serving Srila Prabhupada. It's just, what's love? Isn't it? That's the happiness. And then when it's time, it'll happen. And when it happens, I'll be happy that it happens too. Something like that. But I'm not going to, Prabhupada also told us, gave an example like a young girl is thinking in the future she's going to have a kid. But, she's only like 2 years old. In the future I'm going to be married, in the future this, that. But, just got to wait a little bit. Yeah.
Maharaj, you quoted the verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you just said a Krishna Prema Sajjakavanaway.
Oh, you know that verse, yeah.
Where is it?
It's which part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita is it?
I forget the number of it.
So, says pure love for Krishna
is already
hearts,
manifest, is already there.
Taken away by hearing and chanting one.
Yeah, Shravanadi Shuddhachiti.
So, if that pure love, Krishna Prem, is within the hearts of all living entities,
yes.
Doesn't that mean that all living entities must have originally come from Goloka Vrindavan? Because in Vaikuntha there's no Krishna Prem. It's only on reference.
Yeah. So that in that context, Krishna Prema is used in a wider sense. That means love of Krishna or love of any of Krishna's. Because Prema actually can actually be applied to other incarnations of the Lord. Because Prema is defined by Rupa Goswami as Anyabi Lashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Navrita Manukuyena Krishnam Shilinam. Simply doing what God wants, being active at it, and doing it happily with a sense of devotion. So I think that I wouldn't say that the word Prema can only be applied to Krishna and Vrindavan. Although some people may do that. But certainly Lakshmi has pure love for Narayan. I wouldn't say that that's not prema. Yeah. And so, I mean, anyway, getting back to worship of the deities in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan, if one is on a higher level, you actually worship in your heart in the mood of Radha and Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
But the Archana Padati, which we follow, so as not to have a whole bunch of sahajas in the movement, advocates worship in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan.
I think we're not supposed to follow the rules and regulations just blindly either.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
supposed to do it with deep meaning.
yeah, with deep meaning.
Because someone could also, there's also deity worshipping in the mood of, like a parent like taking care of a child, but externally looking, it's
Yeah, externally, someone could be on a higher level,
Yeah.
but externally, you can't tell the difference. Right. Actually, time to end class.
So Moj, how would you define the difference between Krishna Prema and Krishna Bhakti? Is there a difference or?
Between Krishna Prema means pure love of Krishna.
Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema, same. No.
Krishna Bhakti can mean, there's Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti. It can be many different levels. Bhakti means devotion. Prema means pure devotion. Isn't it? If you think about it. Like there's Vaidhi Bhakti, there's Raghunuga Bhakti, there's Prema Bhakti, there's Bhava Bhakti. So, of course, you have the word Prema Bhakti, so there's some distinction between the two. Prema Bhakti means service to Krishna and pure devotion, whereas Bhakti itself means service to Krishna, to worship. Actually, Prabhupada sometimes define the word bhaj to mean to worship. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So, I just a few thoughts that came. One and a question as well. But one thing I wanted to say is like, I addressed Radha Govindari at the temple, and when I address them, then I'm not thinking of Lakshmi Narayan. This because it's impossible to.
No, it's Radha. It's Krishna with a flute in his hand.
Yeah, and it's Radha and Krishna.
But
standing.
we worship in the mood of Lakshmi
Yes,
Narayan.
and
There's a difference between mood
Yes.
and thinking that. We don't think they're Lakshmi Narayan.
Exactly. Yes. So for me, the mood of Lakshmi Narayan means following all the rules and regulations because of love, like it's
Service.
and service. Yes, it's like these are there because this is how they want us to show us our love for them.
Right.
So it's not like, oh Radharani, I'm not going to wipe you today, you're already clean anyway. Like it's still doing the whole rituals, the whole procedure in the same order. So so that just
Yeah, the mood of Lakshmi Narayan, I'm your servant.
Yes.
But what is the mood of Lakshmi Narayan? I am your servant.
Yeah. And the other thing.
The mood of the gopis is, you're my boyfriend,
Yeah.
which is a little bit different than,
Yeah.
so what?
Krishna Balaram.
Yeah, then they should serve Krishna Balaram. Anyway, so it's a different mood,
Yeah.
but the worship is in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. Otherwise, you'd go up to the deities and put your arm around the deities. And,
When they want salt or something.
what's that?
When they want some salt on their prasad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, like Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami is told by Madan Mohan, that, where's my salt? And he said, you got to get it yourself. I'm too busy to do this stuff. And Madan Mohan, he was called Madan Gopal before, he got it for himself. The whole salt barge full of salt. So,
And the other thing.
yeah, the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. I didn't say we should see
No,
Radha
that's
Krishna
right.
like Lakshmi Narayan. definitely
No.
not a good idea.
I'm starting to think about it too much. Yeah.
Yeah. No, what I was
Because
trying to say.
then you have to give Krishna a chakra,
Yeah, that's right.
a conch shell chakra, like that. We don't do that. You have to put an extra 2 arms on him.
Yeah, so that was my realization that this is what it means to have the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. To
But also we often dress Radha and Krishna like Lakshmi Narayan too.
Yeah, that's right.
In many temples they're
Yeah,
dressed.
yes.
That you put these, I don't know if you do that here, but in many temples they put these like head things on them.
Yeah,
That
Big chakra.
Krishna would never wear that much in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Krishna having something like this high and all that other stuff?
Some temples he gets a Christmas hat.
Yeah, Christmas hat?
Um,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that. Sometimes they just write in Krishna like Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus. But that was stopped by the GBC. I was in Hungary. What's that?
Hungary.
Yeah, Hungary they did it. Yeah, Hungary, they even had a sled on the altar. You know that, Mari, right?
I didn't know that part,
I didn't know
but
it was in Hungary. Yeah.
Yeah.
mixed feelings. I'm also like, if Krishna was here, he'd probably go on the sled and dress up for Christmas.
No, but in red and white outfit with reindeer.
Yeah.
And then they would sometimes put an extra arms on Radharani, so she'd be holding a pot on her head. They would cover her regular arms and put temporary arms, so she'd be cut. She'd look like, anyone ever see that?
No.
It was banned by the GBC.
Oh.
Different moods. That is not the mood the Prabhupada wanted.
They do that at the I know in Vrindavan at the Radha Shamsuna temple, the Vallabhacharya,
Yeah.
will during the month of Kartik they will put on different sort of moods. They'll dress the deities in different moods.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And they won't add different arms or anything like that.
I haven't not on Radharani, but they will sometimes have, let's say, Nrsingadev main on Krishna. Or
Yeah, that's a different sampradaya. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different something.
Even in Jagannath Puri, they have the different veshas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For Lord Jagannath. He has a Nrsinga Vesha and other
Yes.
things like that. It's a different sampradaya. I probably never really advised us to do those things. To play with the deities like that. I mean, it's always in the mood of on reverence. Krishna, I'm your servant. Like that.
The other thing I wanted to ask was, what I want to ask is that, it says that, it says here, and it says that Radharani longed for Krishna to take her to Vrindavan again to fulfill her desire in the
Right.
calm atmosphere. But we know that the gopis didn't have any tinge of
No, but her desire was to serve Krishna,
please
was to
Krishna.
please Krishna,
Yeah.
and she understood that Krishna would be most pleased by that intimate exchange.
yes.
So the desire of a pure devotee and the desire of Krishna are perfectly in tune with each other.
And then also
It's not
we
it's not a separate desire.
Right. And then also we heard that the Manjaris enjoyed the most,
They had the most intimate exchanges because they were present when Radha and Krishna were engaged in their most intimate loving exchanges because they were young girls. They were pre-pubescent girls. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess the last thing I want to say is that the prayers, like this, these Kataksha prayers and other prayers like that,
Yeah.
that, Lord Shiva said to Mother Parvati, that's how we know it, is like the benedictions of those prayers are really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful prayers. Yeah, very nice. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so anyway, so the whole point I'm trying to make is that if we devote ourselves to doing what Krishna wants, then everything will be revealed to us. Whether that revelation comes by some great pure devotee, helping us in a particular juncture, or whether it just comes internally is another thing. That's up to Krishna. Yeah.
Maharaj, I met a couple at Ugodam the other day, and they said, they're about to get married, and the lady said, I've just come to give Krishna on the altar an invitation to our wedding,
That's nice.
And I was thinking, is that a nice sentiment, or is it
Oh,
a little
yeah,
bit
yeah,
sarcastic? And I said to them, well, yeah, of course Krishna's going to be there and he's going to be controlling the whole wedding.
I think that that's a wonderful sentiment. Yeah, you approach. As I mentioned in sort of the beginning of the class, that whether it's a material desire or not, I don't know. Maybe they were on a higher level. But whether one is free of material desires, full of material desires, or desires of liberation, one approaches Krishna. Akama sarvakama moksha kama dharati. It's beautiful. I mean, I would just like, wow, inviting Krishna to their wedding. This is wonderful. They want the blessings of Krishna. So, any other questions? Okay. Nimai, any questions?
He does. He keeps, yes, because he bothers me with it all the time and I can't answer them. He keeps saying that, like, we know everything, and it's like we know the punchline to every joke, we know the philosophy, and it's so depressing. You can't enjoy the material world.
That's true. Actually, it's a true statement.
It's a good price to pay.
It's just like we're poisoned. Actually, the statement is there in the Shastras that once you know better, you know about the nature of the material world and everything like that, it always comes back to haunt you.
Yeah.
But you can also be, Krishna says you can be happy in this world by following the path.
Yes,
but no one else is probably happy.
That's right. But if you that's true. There's happiness there. But at the same time, when you try to do something that's, let's say, enjoy the body or something like that. Like if you're thinking, let me go for, what sports do you like?
I like soccer, swimming, yeah.
So when you're doing these sports, then you're thinking, oh my God, I'm not this body.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not this body, I'm trying to enjoy this body, or eating or something like that. Then you start to feel all guilty, or, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Christian consciousness is dangerous like that.
Yeah.
Prabhupada played soccer too, huh?
Yeah, Prabhupada was the goalie because he didn't want to move too much. So, yeah, it actually spoils our material life. I apologize for that. That your material life has been spoiled.
And then
But the whole idea, let me count.
It's a good price to pay, I reckon. It's good. Yeah, you get all the you can get out of here. It's a better place than this place.
But let me counter that particular concern. That to be Krishna conscious, one has to be honest about one's desires or needs. Let's talk about needs. Because if you suppress, let's say you have a need for play, we talk about this in my book, or you have a need for companionship, you have a need for fun, you have a need for humor, you have a need for so many things in this world, for sleep, then just understand, it's part of my spiritual progress to fulfill those needs so I can be stable and not crazy in this world. I remember when I joined the movement, we were taught, one of the things we were taught is sleep is Maya.
Oh.
Yeah, sleep, I'm sure you experienced the same thing.
Yeah.
Sleep is Maya, and if you sleep any more than like 5 hours a night or something like that,
Yeah.
you're in the mode of ignorance. Even you read in some of Prabhupada's books, if you take things out of context, anyone who sleeps more than 6 hours.
He did not like sleep.
So Prabhupada, he had a particular spiritual body where he could only rest at night, 2-3 hours. And if we do that, we go crazy. I'll be visiting the psychiatrist very soon if I try to sleep like 2 hours a night. So, therefore, one has to understand one's needs. And need for fun is actually a need, and that helps you become Krishna conscious. So you can think like that. You're playing soccer. Helps you become Krishna conscious because it's a need. It helps you feel happy in this world so you can be stable. And not to feel, we have to conquer or not succumb to guilt because we do have these needs. And unfortunately, the way that Krishna consciousness is sometimes preached by immature people, it inculcates a feeling of guilt.
Especially to
Like
children.
counterbalance,
Especially the children.
Especially to children.
Especially the children, yeah.
S.B. Keshava Maharaj was here recently, and he used this term, disconnect to connect.
Yeah.
to like really get away and then come back all refreshed.
Yeah, and then there's this other term where devotees try. What's it called? Spiritual bypassing.
Yes.
Spiritual bypassing, where you try to think that you don't have all these particular needs, and just by your spirituality you won't do it. But I think we have to connect the things of this world, the having fun and everything like that, with Krishna. It's part of Krishna consciousness. One has to be moderate in their recreation and in other activities too, eating, sleeping, recreation, everything. Whoops, I'm on his phone. So, the point you're making is actually a very good point. So, basically, do what you have to do, have fun. It's not going to be counterproductive to your Krishna consciousness. It's going to make you a better, well-rounded person. I'm not the body, but I still enjoy eating. Because you have to just put that out of your mind when you're eating.
That's for later thought.
Yeah, just, the point is, yes, I'm not the body. I haven't realized it yet, but by eating prasadam, I'll come to a higher platform. When it comes, it comes. It's trying to force it. It's like having constipation. Sorry. Sorry about that example.
That's a good one.
You're just going to harm yourself. It's just whatever. Just enjoy. I'm enjoying life. I do a lot of things. A lot of things I'd like to do, I can't do now just because I'm older. But when I was a little younger, I would as a devotee, I would ride a bicycle every day, go, do all sorts of things. I used to watch Star Wars. Star Wars? And I just didn't feel guilty about it, just like, it gives my mind a little bit of peace,
It's so nice that you're sharing that, Gurudev, because so many young, like especially children in the movement, will grow up where they are, really, they're fed a very rigid way of how to understand the philosophy, and so they can grow up being quite imbalanced and go into all kinds of extremes. And it's a real feeling, that guilt and that pressure. And what do I do and how do I cope with, I don't know, being 16, 17, 18 and I'm in a different place in life, and how do I do all this? But like what you've said is like, no, to understand that you're human, you have needs.
You have needs.
Yeah.
And you have all eternity to become Krishna conscious. How about that?
Just on this, like reading the Mahabharata or listening to the Mahabharata when we were younger, and the Pandavas, they go to the forest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they're like devastated. And as kids, we're like, but why? They just go in the forest. It's like pretty much what we're all doing right now as our Krishnas. And they're all upset about it, and their family and their friends, but we were like, but why? And then just starting to realize, they're normal functioning people, and they're pure devotees of Krishna, and they have family and friends, and they care about things. And so being exiled from the material world was actually difficult for them. And they miss people. Ashvatthama was Arjuna's mate from school. It wasn't just some baddie or something like that. It wasn't so black and white.
That's good. Yeah, to describe them not as just some stereotypical, pure devotee personalities. Like even Prabhupada, when they tried to give Prabhupada food that was tasteless, he told the devotees, because for his health, let the starvation committee go to hell. He said it's better to die eating tasty food than to eat this bland food. So devotees are just normal. A real devotee should be just a normal person who is Krishna conscious as his goal in life. But there's certain aspects of the philosophy that can just make you really guilty about everything you do.
Especially the time wasting part.
Yeah, don't waste any time. Don't sleep more than 6 hours a night. What other don'ts do we have?
Yeah, don't do this, don't do that, don't have fun. Use it better.
Don't have fun,
Overthink everything.
If you're gonna play soccer, you gotta chant Hare Krishna each time you hit the ball. Yeah.
So I was thinking, on one hand, as you're saying, we have to live sort of a normal life, like in tune with where we're at.
Yeah.
we're not pure devotees right at this moment. But on the other hand, like Prabhupada said, we are in the clearing stage.
Yeah.
So we need to be sort of aware of, I would
Right.
like to get rid of these things. Because like Prabhupada said, if you chant with, and not trying to get rid of an artist, he said you can chant for 300 years. Like, try and cook with smoke.
Right.
You can try to cook with smoke, but
Yeah, that's true. So the question arises: how do you get rid of the anarthas? I mean, that's really the question. And my understanding of how to get rid of anarthas is by rasavarjam rasapisa paramdra sanivartate, by attraction to Krishna. Because my experience is when you try to get rid of something, psychologically, emotionally, attachments, the attachment gets stronger.
you get a higher taste.
Yeah, you have to have a higher taste. I mean, let's say I have an anartha of wanting to eat whatever, I don't know, eat too much or something like that. Then I just think about, I'm not, like you find people, okay, who eat too much and they're horizontally challenged. So, like I was talking about last night. And so they think, I have to stop eating. So they're thinking more about eating,
Yeah.
and they're going to continue overeating out of anxiety because they're supposed to try, and the only way to conquer the anxiety is to eat more. They self-medicate, so to speak. So the way to do it is you have a higher purpose. Like I changed my diet, on a personal basis. I changed my diet from something I was very attached to. Was my higher purpose? Well, to have better health, actually. I used to eat cheese like it was going out of style. And the doctor told me, you got to stop eating cheese. And I said, impossible. The Ayurvedic doctor. I had so much cheese in my system that they'd take my blood and there'd be pieces of globules, and not exactly cheese, but fat. I saw my blood. It was actually incredible. And I still wouldn't stop. But then I thought, on a positive note, I want to serve Prabhupada, I want to live longer, So what I want to do positively, and then it was very easy. The next day I actually stopped, and I haven't taken cheese since then. I'm not saying cheese is bad. You should like cheese. Don't worry. But for me it was bad. So the whole point is that, positive vision, having a positive vision, and of course attraction to Krishna and devotion for Krishna, and then we do these things. Like I'm not thinking I have to get up in the morning. I'm thinking, to please Krishna, to please Prabhupada. Because if you think of it, renunciation is very distasteful. It's actually very distasteful, to renounce things, be detached. But the more you try to be detached, the more attached you become. Isn't it? Even, what is it, the Buddhists talk about how you have to be detached and then give up your attachment to being detached. Huh? How do you do that? And then you have to give up your attachment to being detached to being detached. You got to, then you get caught in this endless
Become like a
Buddhist
stone.
Buddhist koan, Koan, like. You understand? So basically, our position is we attach to Krishna or attach to Krishna's devotees. Actually, the interesting thing is I was just reading Lord Kapila teaching to Devahuti. He said the very same attachment that one has for the material, if one transfers it to the spiritual, then that becomes the cause of one's Krishna consciousness. It's beautiful, the teachings of Lord Kapila to Devahuti's mother. How many nice instructions are there? The same attachment you have for material persons. Yeah, we have heroes in the material world and we're attached to them. So we become like, I'm not shy about it, but I know I'm attached to Prabhupada. So I know that attachment will purify me. And so you transfer it. And then I don't worry about the other things. They disappear automatically. I'm not going to be in anxiety or feel guilt. I can't do that. If I need something, I'll do it. Well, within reason. No, if it's actually in need, yeah, Shama.
I was just going to say, I'm just having this flashback that about 18 years ago,
Yeah.
when I was 18, I asked you a similar question. How do I get rid of anarthas?
What'd I say?
You said exactly what you just said now.
Yeah.
Wow.
You told me, don't think about your anarthas,
Yeah.
how you're going to get rid of them. Focus on what is inspiring you with in Krishna consciousness and your purpose. And Krishna will take care of your anarthas. And you said some you won't even notice is taking away.
Yeah.
And some he'll put right in front of your face to show you this is what's happening. You need to go through this process.
And also being aware of an artist to a certain extent helps us be humble.
Yeah.
You know, it helps us understand what is our position in Krishna, so we don't try to jump too high. You know, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, you know, I have these anarthas. I don't really have the adhikar to understand my rasa right now with Krishna.
Yeah.
And why? You know, why are you trying to understand your rasa so quick? You're just trying to show it off to everybody? I mean, or you're trying to sublimate your sex desire? You know what sublimation means? I'll explain what I mean. Like, sublimate, let's give it in terms of anger. Like, let's talk about a balloon. Do you ever see someone make little toys out of a balloon?
Yeah.
They squeeze one side, another side pops out.
Yeah.
So sublimation is something like that. That you have some desire and you repress it and it comes out in a different way. So what happens is someone may have like intense, we'll go sex desire in this material world. So no, sex desire is Maya. Instead of doing, instead of being just practical, I have this desire, Hare Krishna, like everybody else. And instead of just being honest with oneself, not necessarily doing anything about it, but, honesty is the first stage and humility is the first stage. Then just being aware about it and then chanting Hare Krishna and, praying to Krishna more. So it's a positive thing rather than just like suppressing. Suppression is really not a good idea for most people. Or repression is not a good idea. So that's what sublimation is. Yeah.
Maharaj, we were touching on before about being too fanatical, and that kids especially can get a bad taste if their parents are too fanatical.
Yeah.
And, saying what all the thing, if they're not doing any devotional things, it's all Maya like that. No, I mean there's a few exceptions like Nimai and other kids who are they like to come in here and come to the programs, but a lot of our kids, especially in teenage years, they don't want to come along. They don't even want to come for prasadam.
They're traumatized.
And it's not good to push them even to just to come along, but
No.
do you think it's good to, like, what I try to do is like try and see what they want to do, and I go bike riding with them, swimming,
Yeah, I think that's great.
go to movies, play board games, whatever they want to do, I try and fit in, go
Yeah.
to theme parks. But sometimes I find they don't even want to do those things, can't
That's
even do
already
anything with
pushed.
them, they just want to be in their room on their iPad or iPhone.
Just want to hang out. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
My personal opinion is the best way to encourage people in Krishna consciousness is the example. Like Prabhupada said, example is better than precept. Like if they see the parents are happy in Krishna consciousness, then everything's voluntary. You want to come to the temples, right? If you don't want, that's all. It's all voluntary. It has to come from the heart. And then people will naturally follow.
Can I just say very much that's how I came
Yeah.
to Krishna, because I met devotees and they were just so peaceful and loving and inviting, and that made me realise that that's how I wanted to be. I wanted to be with people like that, and I
Right.
wanted to become like
Yeah,
that. So
that's-
that's what attracted me.
Yeah, we have to attract people,
Yeah.
not push people to be Krishna conscious.
But if you're, let's say, I'm just thinking with some of the younger people we work with, if you're, let's say, a 14-year-old boy or a girl, you might not be attracted to a peaceful,
Yes. Yes.
you know,
You want
life. So
excitement.
for them, for them, they want to see something else, and so,
So-
and that's just a period, and it's okay. So we don't
Yeah.
we don't need to force them to be peaceful when they're in a
No.
different
Yeah.
developmental stage. when
No,
they need-
let them go to a kirtan mela.
Yeah.
It's not at all peaceful.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas I can't relate to the kirtan
Yeah,
melas.
it's too. Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I just want, you know, Genevieve Harrison's kirtans.
Yeah.
Waiting for that slot.
Yeah.
You know, oh my God, you know, I want something sweet.
Yeah.
At my age, it's something sweet
Yeah.
and attractive.
Yeah.
So we give people what they
Yeah.
want in Krishna consciousness. But yeah, don't feel guilty. Well, that's a don't. You know.
Just don't.
Just don't.
Just don't.
You know, just
Just be.
just understand you have needs, have fun. Have fun. And then just don't listen to your mother at all.
Yeah. I was like, are you hearing this? This is your mom?
You know, anytime someone's pushy, do the opposite.
I'll pay orders.
This is recorded too, by the way.
He knows. I've been giving him this instruction since he was little,
Oh,
so it's not a problem. It's not new to him. Just don't be pushed into anything.
Yeah, that's true.
You'll be resentful, right?
Actually, Prabhupada said, rebellion with a child is a sign of intelligence. So the parents should relish that when their children are rebellious. It's
Once
a
they
sign.
leave the room.
It's a sign of the need of autonomy.
Autonomy, yes.
So when they become autonomous, then their sense of their moral compass will develop, and they'll make decisions for themselves later on in life. But if you are always making decisions for them, then after you're either not there or they're not with you, they will have their friends make decisions for them. And then they will not be able to understand what's right and what's wrong. The whole point is to encourage people to develop a sense of morality and ethics on their own, rather than impose a system of morality and ethics. Okay, I think it's time. I could never get away with this in the temple.
Thank you very much.
The big bell, I'm not going to go. Dun.
We had a lot of people watching. We had 13 people online watching. Because whenever I go online, I actually send a text message out to everybody, so they know I'm
Thank you
on.
very much, Laura.
Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Holiness, Bir Krishna Goswami ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.